This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire. I'm back at the November Symposium Resources Roadshow from the Forum at Westpac headquarters in Sydney, where ASX listed resources companies get a chance to present their wares directly to shareholders and potential new investors in this nice, relaxed, informal environment. Under the bright lights today was Bernard Rowe, Managing Director of Sydney-based Greenfield's mineral explorer Global Geoscience, the ASX code GSC, which has 100% owned interests on several continents actually, but has recently been very much focused on its promising Sarasara copper moly project in southern Peru. Bernard Rowe joins me now. Welcome to ABN Newswire.
Thanks very much, Brian.
Now, before we get into the specifics, can you give us an overview of Global Geoscience's portfolio?
Sure, yeah. Brian, we're an early stage greenfields explorer. We have properties principally for gold and copper, moly and silver, and we're active in jurisdictions like Peru in South America, Arizona and Nevada in the US, Mexico, and we have some residual interests here in Australia.
Okay, now you're drilling pretty vigorously for copper, in fact the second drilling program now at Sarasara, after some very promising early results. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure, yeah, we were really happy when we got some fantastic results came through from our previous drilling program that we announced in October. We drilled in the order of 10 or so holes, and the last two holes hit quite significant copper intersections, lowish to moderate grades but over quite a broad intervals. So they were quite encouraging. It was really a transformation of that project for us, that we were starting to get some really significant copper numbers kicking in that we hadn't seen earlier.
Okay, now this, how much do you expect to be there, or is it too early to say?
Oh, well, it's pretty early, but as a conceptual target, what we're chasing is a porphyry copper deposit. So, we're looking at things that are target size of 500 to a billion tonne type target size, and that's comparable with the other porphyries that are in this part of the world. In terms of copper grades, 0.4, 0.5% grades are the sorts of grades that you see in these style of deposits in this part of the world.
Is this the Capiche Project, or is this a different thing altogether?
Capiche is correct.
Capiche is the name of the project.
That's right. Capiche is the name of the prospect. I should mention that Sarasara is actually about 70 square kilometres, and so this is one target within there, and we call it Capiche.
Okay, so your full tenement is 70 square kilometres.
That's right.
Okay. Now there's some silver lurking around there too.
That's right. I mean, it's the copper that caught our eye, and that's what we're chasing.
It's always nice for the bonus, though.
But
isn't it?
Nice for a bonus. That's right. And the thing about the silver is it's very high grade, 400 grams per tonne. Over a 16.5 metres, so it's quite a reasonable width, but very high grade. It's shallow, it's only about 200 metres below the surface, and it's open in all directions. So it's the sort of target that we can go in and chase up with fairly shallow RC drilling. The copper is a deeper target, and that's what we're going to be diamond drilling. Now,
the area is no stranger to significant mineral deposits, is it?
No, that's right. There's some very large porphyry copper deposits in this part of the world.
What about infrastructure, transport infrastructure, that sort of thing?
Our infrastructure is pretty good. We're only 100 kilometres from the coast, okay. So we've got good road access to fairly close by. There's some well-serviced towns within 40 or 50 kilometres, so there's power and workforce and things like that would potentially be sourced from villages that are not too far away. So yeah, it's infrastructure-wise, I mean, it is at 4,500 metres elevation. So that's getting up there, but...
yeah, that must be hard to work at that kind of altitude if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it does slow you down a bit when you first go there, but it doesn't take too long to acclimatise, and of course the locals are quite accustomed to it, and you just walk a bit slower.
Okay, let's flip up to the US. You're pushing forward with your copper gold prospects in Nevada, and also some moly interest there as well.
That's right.
In the US?
In the US, that's right. We've got a couple of, again, these are porphyry related sorts of things, copper, moly, in Arizona and Mexico, but our real focus going forward in the US is going to be gold in Nevada. We've just acquired a new property fairly recently, again 100% owned, called Bartlett Peak. It's got an untested gold target on it, and so we're quite excited about that, and we're hoping to push ahead pretty quickly with that and get out there and be drill testing that before too long.
I'll talk to you about how you're going to finance this in a second, but back in Australia, you're seeking an exploration partner for a gold and base metal project at Mount Weir in South Australia. What are you looking at there?
Well, that's a base metal project, so principally copper would be what we would be hoping for. But yeah, we made the decision that we were going to focus our exploration activities outside of Australia, and so some residual interests like like Mount Weir, we thought the best way to advance that was to bring in someone else, and so that's what we're intending on doing. We've also done a similar thing already with a property called Gyro, which is in the New England fold belt of New South Wales, and we just recently put that into a company called White Rock Minerals.
Now, all this exploration activity is being funded by a recent capital raising. Can you talk to me? Can you talk me through the process there?
Sure. There was two parts to the capital raising, but they were done concurrently. The first part was an entitlement offer to shareholders, where shareholders were given the opportunity to buy one new share for every 3 that they held.
Which was pretty well subscribed, wasn't it?
It was. We just announced today, in fact, that it was 75% take-up by shareholders. So it was, yeah, we're very positive, and of course it's great to have that support from your shareholder base. The other part of the capital raising was a placement for $2.1 million. 1/3 of that was done about a month ago. The remaining 2/3 is subject to shareholder approval, and we're going to be putting that to the shareholders at the AGM next week. So collectively we'll be raising $4 million subject to the final shareholder approval.
The bulk of that will be used for Sarasara at this stage?
Yeah, yes, that would be right. I mean, we're working on the idea that the next part of the program at Sarasara is going to be diamond drilling and percussion drilling, and collectively we're talking about $1 million or so worth of drilling there. So it will take up a fair chunk of that money that we've raised.
Now, given the extent of your 100% ownership of some very promising but not yet explored tenements, does it sort of secretly frustrate you a little that you can't at the moment progress them?
Oh, no, I mean, that's part of the exploration game, I guess.
So you're looking that far ahead that you've deliberately gone out and purchased tenements that are looking promising to sit on for a while until you can get the capital to explore them. Would that be a fair assessment? Yeah,
that's right. I mean, as a junior explorer, you do need a pipeline of projects, and we're quite comfortable with the idea that at any one time we've got a couple of projects, 1 or 2, 3 perhaps at the most, right at the top of that triangle or pyramid of projects, and they're the ones that we're drilling on at the present time. But underneath that you need others coming through, and that's all part of particularly being, like us, a greenfields or an early stage explorer. You have to accept the fact that you're going to have failures in exploration, and you have a pipeline of projects to accommodate that.
You were talking earlier to a room full of fairly hardened resources sector investors today. What was your major pitch to them? What was your hook, if I can use that term?
Oh, I think my hook, I think, was that we own 100% of Sarasara. We've made a discovery. We've got 2 targets there, essentially. The high-grade silver, which is shallow and open. We've raised the money, and we're ready to go again. We'll be drilling within a few days.
It's a nice story. Bernard Rowe, Managing Director of Global Geoscience, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Brian.
This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire.